Describing the Cold War as a simulation is not to say that its impacts aren't important. The Cold War may be seen as a colonialist conflict between Sino-Soviet-American superpowers with its most significant environmental, economic, and sociological damages imposed upon colonial states in the global South. From this perspective, the conflict was not primarily an economic competition between centrally planned command economies versus market-driven economies, or an ideological or sociological competition between authoritarian regimes and liberal democracies, but a simulation of these conflicts used to redraw the literal and figurative maps and enforce them on colonial and post-colonial societies. In his October 7, 2001 essay, Reflections on the WTC, Zizek cites Badiou's assertion that the 20th century has been uniquely focused on the project of mediating the intensities of lived reality in its most extreme forms, invariably producing a, quote, product deprived of its substance, quote. Zizek here draws on Wachowski's reference to Baudrillard's reversal of Borges' vision of tattered ruins of a map, quote, inhabited by animals and beggars. Baudrillard insists that the impossible map has replaced reality altogether, and in this configuration we are the animals and beggars, quote, in the deserts which are no longer those of the empire, but our own. From this perspective, our dependency on mediated reality is absolute, even while the coherence of reality itself is no longer dependable. The truth of this evades simple moralizing, even if there is a tendency to approach it with alarm. As Baudrillard attempts to reassure us, quote, there cannot be a real catastrophe because we live under the sign of virtual catastrophe. Or, as Deleuze and Guattari put it, we make ourselves safe in the refrain, quote, this is the post-romantic turning point. The essential thing is no longer forms and matters or themes, but forces, densities, intensities. We see these intensities reproduced by simulations in films from this unit in a variety of ways. In Underground, Marco says, the truth? No text, my dear, has any truth in it. The truth exists only in real life. You are the truth. You are supposed to be the truth. There is no truth, only your conviction. Art is a lie. Meanwhile, Marco has been distorting time and simulating an ongoing war to keep his brother, best friend, and symbolically his nation oppressed by their fear of oppression. The tank in the cellar is a visual representation of nested dolls of safety in a security and surveillance state. The monochromatic and cluttered mise-en-scène of the cellar, already claustrophobic, but for increased security, the offensive weapon, a tank, is transformed into a shelter within the shelter. The impossibility of fitting all of the cellar citizens inside evokes the absurdity of their situation. In Goodbye Lenin, Alex struggles to mediate reality for his mother, Christiane, in the same way that a loving parent mediates for a child, by offering as much of the truth as they believe will afford a sense of security, familiarity, and understanding, while constructing a virtuality not divorced from truth, but one where the edges have been softened. In the final hospital scene, Alex is no longer wearing the bright, hopeful blue of his youth or the intense red of socialist ideological intensity, but a muted plaid containing both. The blurred edges of the television both compress the space between Alex and Christiane and remind us of the powerful place media holds in their lives and of Alex's efforts to soften the hard facts of the real. However, it is not until Christiane understands Alex's role in constructing this map that we realize her commitment to socialist ideology is less important to her than her commitment to the ideals of humanism and love ideals that Alex demonstrates in his media intervention. Kedak is a mystically coded meditation on the social, spiritual, economic, and environmental challenges facing traditional Mongolian society. Kutsurakis effectively argues that the depiction is intended to interrogate the expectation of linearity in temporal relationships. Quote, "The boundaries between past and present are somehow obscured, and the film's aesthetic slowness intensifies this effect." And offer a collectivist counter-history to the racist, colonialist appropriation both of universalized capitalism and of Sino-Soviet command economy. Quote, "Such a complex depiction of time is not to be understood under the rubric of fatalistic repetitions, but as a means of identifying how our historical present is still marked by oppressive structures from the past, as well as by revolutionary failures and energies that can be reclaimed and transformed." Like Marco in Underground, troops disrupt the agronomic life of Baji and his family of herders with a simulated livestock plague, forcibly relocating them, quote, "where there is work for you," in a mining colony. From this perspective, the Mongolian people are faring no better under the exploitation by the economic forces of modern Western capitalism than they were under the exploitation of the Soviet Empire. Their experience under either regime is alterity, producing resources for global power. Their only hope is to reclaim the power to redraw their maps for themselves. The inversion of the tree in Baji's vision illustrates this possibility of reconsidering the familiar, where branches reaching for the eternal blue sky, viewed differently, may also be understood to be roots, anchoring the community in the dreams of their ancestors. This is a vision of liberation through understanding, vast and unconstrained, in contrast with the cramped conditions of the bomb shelter in Underground, or the warm institutional and domestic environment in the hospital of Goodbye Lenin. This kind of circular temporality rejects the teleology of both Fukuyama's end of history and Marx's communist society as an inevitable culmination of class struggle, offering instead to reframe history as an ever-present origin of emergence and collapse of localized consciousness. In such a system, media serves as a mythpoetic transmission, not of ideology, but of conscious awareness, either stimulating or dulling individual consciousness.